Alex Winters sat in the cockpit of the simulator, sweat dripping down his forehead as he maneuvered through the virtual asteroid field. His hands gripped the controls tightly while warning lights flashed across the dashboard. Next to him, Nora. Phillips monitored the weapon systems, her fingers dancing across the screens with practiced precision. "Incoming target at Sector 4, she called out, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. From the back of the simulator, Kevin Martinez adjusted the power levels. Engines at 90%, shields holding at 63%. The three cadets worked in perfect harmony. After 3 years at Terran Space Academy, they had become the top team in their class. This final exam would determine their future assignments in the Galactic Alliance fleet. "2 bogeys on our tail," Kevin warned. "And they're not following. Standard attack patterns." Alex nodded. "They changed the simulation again. Let's show them what Deathworlders can do." The term Deathworlder had once been an insult. When humans first joined the Galactic Alliance, other species looked down on them for evolving on a planet considered extremely dangerous by galactic standards. Earth's higher gravity, atmospheric toxins, and extreme weather patterns had shaped humans into something most aliens found terrifying: beings who could endure pain, go without sleep, and heal from injuries that would kill most species. Nora lined up a perfect shot, taking out one of the pursuing ships. "Target down." One more. A loud alarm cut through the simulation noise, but this wasn't part of their test. The virtual environment around them flickered and disappeared, leaving them sitting in a metal box with screens now flashing red warning symbols. The door slid open. Professor Lyrax stood there, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly in a way the cadets had learned meant extreme stress for a Centaurian. "Exit the simulator now," he ordered, his voice translator failing to hide the urgency. "This is not a drill." The 3 cadets exchanged glances before quickly unbuckling and following their instructor. Down the hallway, the Academy's emergency lights pulsed along the corridors as other confused students emerged from classrooms and training rooms. "What's happening, Professor?" Alex asked as they jogged to keep up with the tall alien's long strides. Professor Lyrax didn't slow down. "The impossible. A Drakari invasion fleet has somehow bypassed our long-range detection systems. They will reach Earth's defensive perimeter in approximately 3 hours. Kevin nearly stumbled. "The Drakari? I thought they were just a theoretical threat from the outer systems." "Not theoretical anymore," Lyrax replied. "And unfortunately, nearly all senior officers are at the diplomatic summit in the Vega system. We are understaffed." They arrived at the Tactical Command Center, where a handful of junior officers and instructors huddled around holographic displays showing the approaching fleet. Lieutenant Diane Collins, the Academy's engineering instructor, looked up as they entered. "Why are cadets here?" she asked Lyrax. "These 3 score higher on combat simulations than most of our graduated officers," Lyrax replied. "And they are Deathworlders. We need all advantages now." Lieutenant Collins nodded grimly and motioned them forward. "The Drakari fleet consists of 1 command ship, 6 heavy cruisers, and 24 destroyer-class vessels. They're approaching in standard formation. Our nearest response fleet can be here in 3 hours at maximum speed." Alex studied the holographic display showing the enemy positions. Something about their formation caught his attention. The 3 cadets had spent countless hours studying alien battle strategies. "That's odd," he said, pointing to a gap in the formation. "Their right flank is exposed. That's not standard Drakari tactics from any of our textbooks." Nora leaned in. "And look at their approach vector. They're coming in hot, but they're not maximizing their sensor coverage." Kevin noticed something else. Their energy signatures are fluctuating, like they're having trouble maintaining their shield harmonics. The officers exchanged looks. Lieutenant Collins raised an eyebrow. "Good observations, but what does it mean?" Alex stepped forward, his mind racing through possibilities. "It means they're not prepared. Look at their formation. They're expecting to face standard Alliance defenses from 5 years ago, before Earth joined the Alliance. They don't know they're attacking a planet of Deathworlders," Nora added, her eyes widening with realization. Professor Lyrax's upper eyes narrowed. "What are you suggesting?" We have barely enough personnel to delay them until reinforcements arrive. Alex looked at his friends, then back at the display. I think we could do more than delay them. I think we could stop them entirely. The room fell silent. Lieutenant Collins crossed her arms. Explain. Their outdated intelligence is a major weakness, Alex said, pointing at the display. And that gap in their formation, we could slip a small strike force through there. He manipulated the display, highlighting a path. If we hit their command ship directly, we could disrupt their entire attack. With what ships? An officer asked. We only have training vessels here. That's all we need, Kevin said. Training. Vessels are small and fast, and I can modify them to pack more punch. And how many ships would this suicidal plan require? Professor Lyrax asked, all four eyes now focused intensely on Alex. 3, Alex replied without hesitation. Just 3. Ships crewed by cadets who understand what it means to be Deathworlders. Impossible, one of the officers said. Even if you could reach the command ship, their shields have a vulnerability, Nora interrupted. We studied it last semester in advanced weapons theory. Their harmonic frequencies have a fluctuation pattern that creates a momentary gap every 87 seconds. A gap no non-human has ever been able to exploit, Professor Lyrax said slowly. The timing requires reflexes beyond most species' capabilities. But not beyond human capabilities, Lieutenant Collins said quietly. Not beyond Deathworlder capabilities. Professor, Lyrax spread his forearms in a gesture of frustration. Even if this could work, we would need more time to prepare. Alex looked at the battle clock on the wall. If we launch immediately, we could intercept them before they reach the outer defense perimeter. We'd have exactly 60 minutes to end this invasion before it begins. The room fell silent again as everyone calculated the odds. Finally, Lieutenant, Collins stepped forward. I've been teaching humans for 3 years now, she said, looking at Professor Lyrax. If anyone can pull off the impossible, it's Deathworlder Cadets with something to prove. Lyrax's skin changed color slightly, the Centaurian equivalent of a resigned sigh. Very well. You have 15 minutes to gather volunteers and prepare your ships. If you cannot stop them, at least try to delay them until reinforcements arrive. Alex, Nora, and Kevin nodded solemnly. The clock was ticking. 60 minutes to save Earth from an invasion force. 60 minutes to show the galaxy what Deathworlders could do. Let's move, Alex said to his friends. We've got a planet to save. The news spread quickly through the academy. An alien invasion fleet was heading toward Earth, and a team of cadets was going to try to stop it. Alex, Nora, and Kevin rushed through the corridors, gathering volunteers and equipment. We need pilots, engineers, and weapons specialists, Alex told the crowd of cadets who had gathered in the main hangar. This is not a training exercise. We are going to face real enemy ships with real weapons. Despite the danger, more cadets stepped forward than they needed. Everyone wanted to defend their home. Alex chose the best from each specialty, including communications expert Olivia Ramirez and navigation wizard Daniel Wright. Report to your assigned ships in 10 minutes, Nora instructed. Bring only what you need for combat. Meanwhile, Kevin worked with Lieutenant Collins to prepare the 3 training vessels. The ships, named Swift, Daring, and Valiant, were designed for teaching cadets how to fly, not for actual battles. They had basic shields and small training weapons that wouldn't cause real damage to enemy ships. We need to overcharge the engines, Kevin said, lying on his back as he worked under a control panel. We won't need them to last long, just for this mission. Lieutenant Collins handed him a tool. If you push them past 120%, they might explode. Kevin grinned. Then we'll aim for 115%. On the other side of the hangar, Nora worked with a team to modify their training torpedoes. Normal torpedoes would bounce harmlessly off the Drakari shields. But Nora remembered from her classes that the shields had a weakness, a specific frequency that could disrupt them. If we adjust the energy signature to match this frequency, she explained to her team, we might be able to get through their shields during the momentary gaps. Alex stood with Professor Lyrax, studying the latest information about the Drakari fleet on a portable screen. They still don't know we've spotted them, Alex noted. That gives us the element of surprise. Professor Lyrax looked troubled. His 4 eyes blinked in different patterns, a sign of deep worry. This plan is extremely dangerous. The chance of success is very small. Small is not 0, Alex replied, and sometimes that's all we Deathworlders need. Lyrax was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I will accompany you as tactical advisor. Alex was surprised. Professor, you don't have to. I do, Lyrax interrupted. I have studied human history. Your species has a habit of accomplishing impossible things when backed into a corner. I want to see this firsthand. Across the hangar, Lieutenant Collins approached them. The ships are almost ready, but I just received a message from Earth Defense Command. They're ordering all Academy personnel to stand down and wait for the main fleet. Alex's heart sank. But by then, the Drakari will be within striking distance of Earth. Millions could die in the first attack. Lieutenant Collins looked around to make sure no one else was listening. I didn't say we were going to obey that order. I just said I received it. She winked with one eye. A human gesture she had learned. I'll run interference with command. You have about 5 more minutes before they realize what we're doing and lock down the hangar. Thank you, Alex said. Lieutenant Collins nodded. Just come back alive, cadets. 5 minutes later, the 3 ships were ready to launch. Alex would command the Valiant, leading the main strike team. Nora would pilot the Daring, targeting the fleet's communication systems. Kevin would take the Swift, acting as a distraction to draw enemy fire. Professor Lyrax joined Alex on the Valiant. The professor looked uncomfortable in the human-designed seat, his forearms folded awkwardly across his chest. Last chance to back out, Professor, Alex said as he strapped himself in. And miss seeing history made? No, thank you, Lyrax replied. The hangar doors opened, revealing the blackness of space, dotted with stars. Earth was a beautiful blue sphere below them, peaceful and unaware of the danger approaching. Alex switched on the ship's communication system. This is Cadet Winters. All ships report in. Daring ready, Nora's voice came through clearly. Swift, ready to rock, Kevin added. Remember the plan, Alex said. We approach through the debris field to hide our signatures. We split up at Waypoint Alpha. We regroup at the Drakari command ship. We have exactly 53 minutes before they reach Earth's defense perimeter. Understood, both teams replied. Alex took a deep breath. Launch! The 3 small ships shot out of the hangar and into space. They accelerated quickly, much faster than training vessels should be able to move. Kevin's modifications were working. They cleared the Academy station. Alarms sounded in their communication systems. Cadets, this is Admiral Chen of Earth Defense Command, a stern voice announced. You are ordered to return to the Academy immediately. This is a direct order. Alex looked at Professor Lyrax, who nodded. They had expected this. Admiral, with all due respect, Alex replied, we have identified a critical weakness in the Drakari fleet. We believe we can stop the invasion before it reaches Earth. If we fail, you lose nothing. The main fleet will still arrive in time to defend the planet. This is insubordination, Cadet Winters, Admiral Chen snapped. Return now or face severe consequences. Alex muted the communication channel and addressed his team. You all know the risks, both from the enemy and from disobeying orders. Anyone who wants to turn back can do so now. No one will think less of you. Silence filled the channel for a moment. Then Nora spoke. We're with you, Alex. All the way. 100%, Kevin agreed. Similar confirmations came from the other cadets on all 3 ships. Alex felt a swell of pride. Then let's go save our planet. He switched off the communication link to Earth Command entirely. There was no turning back now. The 3 ships accelerated toward the distant stars where the Drakari fleet waited, unaware that a small group of determined cadets from a death world were coming for them. Professor Lyrax watched the human cadets work. Their faces showed focus and determination, not fear. For the first time, he truly understood why Deathworlders were different. It wasn't just their physical abilities, it was their refusal to accept defeat. Approaching the debris field, Daniel announced from the navigation station. This is going to be a tight squeeze. The debris field consisted of destroyed satellites and old space junk. Most ships avoided it because of the danger, but Alex had other ideas. The debris will hide us from their sensors, he explained. And no one would expect ships to fly through this mess at high speed. Professor Lyrax gripped his seat tightly. Because it would be suicide for most pilots, Alex smiled. But not for Deathworlder pilots with reflexes fast enough to dodge obstacles. The 3 ships plunged into the swirling mass of metal fragments. The mission to save Earth had truly begun. Flying through the debris field tested even the skilled human pilots. Chunks of metal and broken satellites whirled around the 3 small ships. On the Valiant, Daniel called out warnings as objects appeared on their sensors. Large section of satellite coming up on the right. Alex yanked the controls, sending the ship into a tight spin that narrowly avoided the jagged piece of metal. The ship's systems whined in protest at the sudden movement. "Professor, how are you doing?" Alex asked, glancing at Lyrax. The alien instructor's skin had turned a pale blue color. 2 of his 4 eyes were closed tight while the others stared straight ahead. "I am managing," Lyrax said weakly. "I now understand why most species cannot pilot like humans. The G-forces alone would knock most of us unconscious." On the Swift, Kevin was having the time of his life. He spun his ship between 2 colliding pieces of debris, whooping with excitement. "This is way better than the simulator," he shouted, over the communication channel. "Focus, Kevin." Nora's steady voice came from the Daring. "Save your energy for the real fight." Alex checked the mission clock. 42 minutes remaining. We're making good time. They were nearly through the debris field when a large section of an old space station appeared directly in their path. It was too big to go around and they were moving too fast to stop. "Everyone follow me," Alex ordered. He spotted a jagged hole in the station's side. "We're going through it." "Through it?" Professor Lyrax's voice rose in alarm. "The opening is barely large enough for 1 ship, let alone 3. "Then we'll go 1 at a time," Alex replied calmly. "Swift first, then Daring, then us." Kevin didn't hesitate. He aimed his ship at the opening and accelerated. The Swift tilted sideways as it slipped through the hole with only meters to spare on each side. "I'm through," Kevin confirmed. "But it's tight. Watch the upper right corner. There's a beam sticking out." Nora guided the Daring through next, her movements precise and controlled. A scraping sound echoed through her ship as metal brushed against metal, but she made it through, safely. Now it was Alex's turn. He lined up the Valiant with the opening, which looked impossibly small from this angle. "Everyone hold on," he warned. Then he pushed the ship forward. The Valiant shuddered as it entered the narrow opening. Warning lights flashed as the ship's sides scraped against the station's metal frame. For a moment it seemed they might get stuck. Then Alex gave the engines a short burst of extra power, and they shot through to the other side. "All ships intact," Alex announced, checking his systems. "We're clear of the debris field." Ahead of them, empty space stretched toward their target. The Drakari fleet was now visible on their long-range sensors. 31 ships in formation moving steadily toward Earth. "They still haven't detected us," Nora reported from the Daring. "Their sensors are focused forward, not behind." "Perfect," Alex said. "Waypoint Alpha in 3 minutes, prepare to split up." The 3 ships flew in tight formation until they reached the designated point. Then, following the plan, they separated. The Swift veered to the right, the Daring to the left, and the Valiant continued straight ahead. "Remember," Alex reminded, "everyone, we need to hit them simultaneously. Time your approaches so we all reach our targets at exactly the same moment." On the Valiant, Professor Lyrax had recovered enough to study the sensor readings of the enemy fleet. "The Drakari still believe they have the element of surprise," he noted. "Their weapons are not fully powered, and their fighters remain in their bays." "That gives us an advantage," Alex said. "But it won't last long once they detect us." Olivia monitored the communication channels from her station. "I'm picking up Drakari transmissions, translating now." The ship's computer converted the alien language to English. A deep, gravelly voice filled the bridge. Expect minimal resistance from the human outposts. Their main fleet is away. Prepare to launch the first wave of fighters when we reach their defense perimeter. They really don't know what they're flying into, Daniel said with a grim smile. That's because they've never fought Deathworlders before, Alex replied. Let's make sure they remember their first time. On the Swift, Kevin pushed his engines beyond their limits. The ship vibrated around him as he approached the right flank of the Drakari fleet. His job was to create a distraction, to make the enemy focus on him, while the other ships moved into position. Almost in range, Kevin reported. Ready to start the party on your mark, Alex. On the Daring, Nora and her team prepared their modified torpedoes. Their target was the communication relay ship that coordinated the Drakari fleet's movements. If they could disable it, the enemy ships would have trouble working together. Weapons hot, Nora confirmed. Ready to fire. Alex checked the mission clock. 31 minutes remaining. Ahead, the massive Drakari command ship loomed against the stars. It was easily 10 times the size of their tiny Academy vessels. Begin approach, Alex ordered. Swift, you're up first. With pleasure, Kevin replied. The Swift accelerated suddenly, breaking from its stealthy approach. It raced toward the edge of the Drakari formation, weapons powered up. The effect was immediate. Alarms blared across the Drakari fleet as they detected the small ship approaching at high speed. They've spotted the Swift, Olivia reported. They're powering up weapons and shields. Multiple ships are changing course to intercept. Perfect, Alex said. Nora, you're clear to move in. We'll follow the plan. As several Drakari destroyers moved to engage the Swift, the Daring slipped closer to the communication relay ship. Nora's team prepared their first shots carefully, aiming at the exact points where the shield harmonics would be weakest. On the Swift, Kevin flew like he'd never flown before. He spun and twisted his ship between energy blasts from the Drakari vessels, drawing more and more of their attention. Wow, these guys are terrible shots. Kevin laughed over the channel. It's like they've never tried to hit a fast-moving target before. That's because they haven't, Professor Lyrax explained. Most species cannot react quickly enough to track objects moving as erratically as your ship. The Valiant continued its approach to the command ship, using the chaos created by Kevin as cover. Alex watched as more Drakari vessels broke formation to chase the Swift. They're falling for it, he said. Their formation is breaking apart. Suddenly, a flash of light erupted near the communication relay ship. Nora had fired her first torpedoes. They slipped through a momentary gap in the Drakari shields and struck their target perfectly. The ship didn't explode, but its communication arrays went dark. Direct hit, Nora announced. Their main communication system is down. They'll have to switch to secondary channels. The Drakari fleet's organized movement suddenly became confused as ships lost contact with each other. Some slowed, others changed direction, and their neat formation fell apart completely. Now it's our turn, Alex said, setting course directly for the command ship. All hands prepare for attack run. We have one shot at this. The clock showed 25 minutes remaining as the Valiant accelerated toward the heart of the enemy fleet. The Valiant raced toward the massive Drakari command ship. Alex's hands were steady on the controls as enemy fire lit up the space around them. On his screen, he could see the Swift continuing its wild dance among the Drakari destroyers. Kevin was leading them on a chase that kept drawing more ships away from their positions. Kevin, status report, Alex called through the communication channel. Still in one piece, Kevin replied, his voice strained but excited. Shields at 40%, these guys really don't like me. Nora, how's the Daring? We've disabled their main communications relay, Nora reported. Moving to secondary target now. We've taken some hits, but nothing critical. Alex nodded to himself. The plan was working so far. With the enemy communications disrupted and many ships chasing Kevin, they had a clear path to the command ship. But the hard part was still ahead. Approaching weapons range in 30 seconds, Daniel announced from the navigation station. Professor Lyrax studied the tactical display with all four of his eyes. The command ship's shields are at full power. You will need perfect timing to exploit the harmonic fluctuation. That's why we brought Deathworlders, Alex replied. He turned to Olivia at the communications station. Open a direct channel to the Swift and the Daring. We need to coordinate our attack precisely. Olivia's fingers flew across her console. Channel open. Listen up, everyone, Alex said. We'll reach the command ship in 20 seconds. Nora, I need you to target their secondary shield generators. Exactly when I give the signal. Kevin, on my mark, break off your diversion and make a run at their engines from below. We'll hit the command deck from above. We need to strike at exactly the same moment. Understood, both pilots replied. Alex watched the countdown on his screen. The mission clock showed 18 minutes remaining before the Drakari would reach Earth's defense perimeter. They were cutting it close. 10 seconds to firing position, Daniel called out. The Valiant shuddered as a glancing shot from a Drakari destroyer hit their shields. Shields at 70%, one of the cadets reported. Stay focused, Alex ordered. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Mark. All 3 human ships fired at exactly the same moment. The modified torpedoes streaked toward the command ship from 3 different directions. For a brief second, the Drakari shields flickered as they cycled through their harmonic pattern. In that tiny window of opportunity, the human torpedoes slipped through. Explosions bloomed across the command ship's surface. The Daring's torpedoes knocked out the secondary shield generators. The Swift's attack damaged the engine control systems. The Valiant's torpedoes struck the command deck directly. Direct hits, Olivia shouted. All torpedoes connected. The massive command ship drifted, its lights flickering. Around it, the remaining Drakari vessels seemed confused, some turning to defend their flagship, others continuing their previous courses. Their shields are down, Daniel reported. But the ship is still operational. Alex made a split-second decision. We need to press. Our advantage. Kevin, Nora, continue to your secondary targets. I'm going to board the command ship. Board it? Professor Lyrax's voice rose in alarm. That was not part of the plan. Plans change when opportunities arise, Alex replied. If we can capture their command center, we can end this now. He switched channels. Daniel, bring us alongside their emergency docking port. Olivia, gather a boarding team. We need 5 volunteers with combat training. Professor Lyrax watched in amazement as the human cadets moved with calm efficiency. None of them questioned the new plan or showed fear at the idea of boarding an enemy vessel. Within minutes, Alex had assembled a team equipped with the Academy's training weapons, which had been modified to deliver non-lethal but incapacitating energy pulses. Professor, you have command of the Valiant while we're gone, Alex said. Keep the ship close for extraction. Lyrax nodded, still stunned by the boldness of the human strategy. May fortune favor you, Cadet Winters. The Valiant eased alongside the damaged command ship. Their docking tube extended and locked onto the emergency airlock. Alarms blared as the connection was made. The Drakari were now aware of their intention to board. Boarding team ready, Alex announced. Let's move. The 6 humans rushed through the docking tube and into the Drakari ship. The artificial gravity was stronger than Earth standard, but as Deathworlders, they adjusted quickly. The corridors were filled with flashing red lights and strange alien writing. Stay together, Alex ordered. Command deck should be 3 levels up. They encountered the first Drakari soldiers at an intersection. The aliens were tall and covered in gray scales, with 4 arms like Professor Lyrax, but more heavily muscled. They carried energy weapons similar to the humans' training models. Down, Alex shouted as the Drakari opened fire. The cadets dropped to the floor as energy bolts sailed over their heads. Then they returned fire in perfect coordination. 3 Drakari fell immediately, stunned by the modified weapons. Move. Alex led, the team forward stepping over the unconscious aliens. They fought their way through 2 more groups of Drakari guards. The aliens seemed shocked by the humans' speed and aggression. Their shots often missed as the cadets ducked, rolled, and sprinted faster than the Drakari could track. They really didn't prepare to fight Deathworlders, one of the cadets commented as they reached the lift that would take them to the command deck. That's our advantage, Alex replied. Never fight an enemy you don't understand. The lift carried them upward. When the doors opened, they were greeted by a squad of elite Drakari guards, larger and better armed than the ones they had faced before. Scatter, Alex ordered. The cadets dived in different directions as energy weapons fired. One cadet took a hit to the leg and went down. The others returned fire, their shots more precise than the Drakkari's. Within seconds, most of the alien guards were stunned. Alex helped the injured cadet to safety behind a console. "Can you continue?" The cadet nodded through gritted teeth. "Just a burn. I can make it." "Good. Cover our backs." They were close to the command center now. Through the viewports, Alex could see the battle continuing outside. The Swift was still evading multiple Drakkari ships, while the Daring had disabled 2 more enemy vessels. A massive door blocked their path to the command center. Alex examined the alien control panel beside it. "Olivia, can you hack this?" She studied the symbols. "I think so. Give me a minute." While she worked, Alex checked the mission clock. 12 minutes remaining before the Drakkari would reach Earth's defensive perimeter. Even damaged, their fleet could still cause massive destruction. "Got it," Olivia announced as the door began to slide open. Behind it was the Drakkari command center, a large circular room filled with alien technology and about 20 Drakkari officers. At the center stood their commander, nearly 2 meters tall with dark gray scales and elaborate armor. The Drakkari all turned to stare at the human intruders, momentarily frozen in shock. Alex seized the advantage, stepping forward with his weapon raised. "In the name of Earth and the Galactic Alliance," he announced clearly, "I demand your surrender." Silence filled the Drakkari command center. The alien officers stared at the small group of human cadets who had somehow fought their way onto their ship. The Drakkari commander's 4 eyes narrowed as he studied Alex. "You are students?" the commander finally said, his translator converting his words to English. "The humans sent students to fight us?" "Cadets," Alex corrected him, keeping his weapon steady. "And yes, we're all that was available. Your timing was poor. Our main fleet is away." The commander made a sound that might have been a laugh. "So the reports were true. Earth is defended by children today." "Deathworlder children," Alex replied, "who just disabled your communications, damaged your engines, and breached your command center. Imagine what our actual fleet will do when it returns." The Drakkari officers exchanged glances. Their commander stepped forward, towering over Alex. Up close, his gray scales gleamed under the emergency lights. "You fight well for younglings," the commander admitted. "But you are still outnumbered. My fleet still has 27 operational ships. Even with damaged communications, we can destroy much of your world before your fleet returns." Alex checked the mission clock on his wrist. 10 minutes remaining. He needed to end this quickly. "Let me show you something," Alex said. He nodded to Olivia, who activated a small projector she carried. A holographic image appeared between them, showing the Swift dodging between Drakkari ships, evading every shot fired at it. Then the image shifted to show the Daring disabling another enemy vessel with perfect precision. "These are just training ships," Alex explained. "Piloted by cadets. We're not even using real weapons, just modified training equipment. And yet, we've managed to do all this damage to your fleet." The Drakkari commander watched the images, his expression unreadable. "Do you know why humans are classified as Deathworlders?" Alex continued. "Our planet has higher gravity, more extreme weather, and more natural predators than most worlds in the galaxy. We evolved to be faster, stronger, and more adaptable than most species. Our reflexes are twice as quick as yours. We can endure G-forces that would kill most other beings." On the screen, Kevin's ship pulled a maneuver that sent it spinning between 2 Drakkari destroyers, causing them to fire at each other. "That's why your gunners can't hit our ships," Alex said. "That's why we could exploit the shield harmonic fluctuation that your engineers dismissed as impossible to target." The commander turned to one of his officers and spoke in their native language. The officer replied, sounding concerned. Alex pressed his advantage. "You came here expecting an easy victory against standard Alliance defenses. Instead, you found Deathworlders. This was your first mistake. Your second was thinking that cadets can't fight." The commander was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke to his officers again. Whatever he said caused a stir among them. Some protested, but the commander silenced them with a gesture. "You have courage, human cadet," the commander said, turning back to Alex. "But I require proof of your claims." "What proof?" Alex asked, suspicious. "A test," the commander replied. He pointed to a control panel nearby. "This panel controls a gravimetric distortion field, a weapon designed to tear apart ships and kill their crews. I will activate it at half power. If you and your team can remain conscious and functional, I will consider your words about Deathworlder capabilities." Alex glanced at his fellow cadets. They nodded slightly, ready to face whatever came. "Agreed," Alex said. "But only at half power, and you experience it too." The commander seemed surprised by this condition, but nodded. "Very well." He moved to the panel and adjusted several controls. Then he pressed a large button. Immediately, the gravity in the room intensified. What started as a slight pressure quickly grew until it felt like each human was carrying 3 times their body weight. The Drakari officers slumped in their chairs or leaned heavily against consoles. The commander himself braced against a railing, his forearms straining. The human cadets felt the pressure too. It was uncomfortable and made movement difficult, but thanks to their Deathworlder physiology, they remained standing. Their bodies, evolved on a high-gravity planet with constantly changing conditions, adapted to the stress. "This," the commander gasped, "is only 30% power. How are you still standing?" Alex managed a smile, though it took effort. "This feels like home during a heavy storm. We train in higher gravity than this." The pressure continued for a full minute before the commander shut it off. The Drakari officers took several moments to recover, while the humans straightened up almost immediately. The commander stared at Alex with new understanding in his eyes. The reports mentioned Deathworlders, but they did not explain what this truly meant. He lowered his head slightly. "I cannot risk my fleet against beings who consider this merely uncomfortable." Alex checked his mission clock. 7 minutes remaining. "Then you'll withdraw?" "Yes," the commander decided. "We will retreat beyond your defensive perimeter, and never return," Alex added firmly. The commander made a gesture that might have been agreement. "We were not prepared for Deathworlders. Next time, we would be. But there will be no next time. I will inform our leadership that Earth is not a viable target." "A wise decision," Alex said. He activated his communication device. "Kevin, Nora, stand down. The Drakari have agreed to withdraw." "Seriously?" Kevin's voice came through, surprised. "We did it?" "We did it," Alex confirmed. The commander issued orders to his fleet. Gradually, the Drakari ships ceased fire and began to change course, moving away from Earth. Olivia established a direct channel to Earth Defense Command. Admiral Chen's angry face appeared on the screen. "Cadet Winters, you disobeyed direct orders and—" The Admiral stopped when he saw the Drakari commander standing beside Alex. "What is happening there?" "Admiral," Alex replied calmly, "I'm pleased to report that the Drakari fleet is withdrawing. Their commander has agreed to leave Earth space permanently." The Admiral's mouth opened and closed several times before he found words. "You negotiated this?" After demonstrating what Deathworlders are capable of, Alex said, "Sir, with your permission, we'll return to the Academy now." The Admiral shook his head in disbelief. "Permission granted, Cadet, and well done. Report to me immediately upon your return." As the cadets prepared to leave the Drakari ship, the commander approached. "Alex, one last time. You said you had 60 minutes to stop us," he noted. "How much time remains?" Alex checked his clock and smiled. 5 minutes and 22 seconds. "What would you have done if this approach had failed?" the commander asked, genuinely curious. "Then, we would have tried something else," Alex replied simply. "Deathworlders don't give up." The commander made a gesture of respect. "Remember this day, human cadet. You have earned the respect of the Drakari, and you have taught us a valuable lesson." "What lesson is that?" Alex asked. "Never underestimate a species you do not understand," the commander said, "especially if they come from a death world." When the cadets returned to the academy 2 hours later, they were met not with punishment, but with celebration. The three small training ships, the Swift, the Daring, and the Valiant, had accomplished what should have been impossible. They had stopped a full invasion fleet without losing a single life. Professor Lyrax stood before the assembled academy, all four of his eyes focused on the human cadets. "Today," he announced, "these Deathworlder cadets have shown us something remarkable. They ended a galactic invasion in exactly 58 minutes and 38 seconds. He paused, looking at Alex, Nora, and Kevin. "And they have taught us all a valuable lesson about courage, adaptability, and the unique abilities of Deathworlders." The cadets stood tall, tired, but proud. They had saved their planet, and they had done it in under 60 minutes.